Alright, so today we got a vlogging camera test. We've got a couple different tripods going on right now just so you guys can see the setup. What we're going to do is test, we've got 3 or 4 cameras. We've got an older DSLR, the T3i, the Canon T3i. We've got an ELPH which is a PowerShot. We've got the G7X, which is what we're shooting with right now. And then somewhere around in here we got iPhone 6. It's not the 6 Plus though with the new autofocus. So keep that in mind. The biggest thing that I want to demonstrate too is we've got to get I'm going to set up some switches. Just wanted to see, or I wanted you guys to be able to see what we're doing. We've got some electrical outlet switches. What I'm going to do is, midway through the video, I'm going to power on these Studio Pro lights, which is one of the best things that has helped me the most. And I actually have gone back to doing iPhone videos because they're easier and simpler for me. And it's amazing. You can use a cheap, shitty camera and you get really good footage out of it with the right lighting. So it's super critical to, excuse me just one second, I got to get the power strip going with these light switches and make sure we're up and running here. It would help if we turn the switch on, huh? So, and then this is not my normal position for these. So usually the way my videos are done, this is my workstation. We've got a tripod over there, but it's much closer. We've got a Studio Pro light flanked left and right. Did a separate review on these lights, but I want you guys to see how big of a difference you can get by with a cheap vlogging camera with the right lighting, and it's going to look awesome. So what we got to do is get these guys set up. We're going to do the iPhone 6 first. We're going to jump to the PowerShot ELPH. Then we're going to go to the T3i. Actually, we're going to go to the G7X, then the T3i. I think this was replaced by the T5i, the Canon, whatever the newer model DSLR is. I'm not a DSLR guy. There's tons of YouTubers out there that could better advise you on that than I could. But this is how we're going to get started. So first up, we have the iPhone 6. It's not the iPhone 6 Plus. That has the built-in autofocus. It does help a lot if you're going to use an iPhone for video to get one of these CamKix remotes. Definitely made my life a lot easier. Biggest thing that I want to demonstrate when shooting with an iPhone or any smartphone, for example, is when I first started doing this, the reason that I went back to shooting with an iPhone 6 is because now I have these Studio Pro lights and it makes a huge difference. I'm in a room, my office has wall-to-wall windows all the way around, and I thought when I first moved to this office that that would be enough ambient light, and it turns out that it's not. And I have a little switch system set up like I showed you earlier, and we're going to see what the iPhone 6 does without any lights. Light 1 down, light 2 down. So this is what my videos were like when I first started, and they looked awful. So when I was searching for a vlogging camera, I didn't really know what to get, and I didn't realize that you could use a cheaper camera and still get good footage out of it with just the right lights. So I think this set was probably, I don't remember what the cost is. I know it's under 200 bucks. And the reason that I went back to shooting with iPhone now is because it doesn't matter if I'm inside, I'm outside, if I'm in my comfort zone of my workstation, or if I'm traveling, I can whip it out, I'm comfortable with it. You get a cheap little tripod mount for the iPhone 6 on the tripod. You use it like any other camera. Pick up a little remote, get yourself some lights, and you got a dual purpose camera, cell phone, video camera. You're all good to go. Now let's switch to the PowerShot ELPH and see the difference. Next up we have the Canon PowerShot ELPH. You can tell right away with the wide-angle lens how much more of my office is in the shot. The tripod hasn't been moved, the angle hasn't been adjusted up or down, nothing. All I did was simply switch out the mount. So we have the small point and shoot there. We still have the lights fired up. Let's take a look and see how it performs. I haven't even seen this yet. Let's see how it does with the lights off and see if it adjusts. I don't know, this is an older model, so I don't know how good the autofocus is. I know a lot of the newer models will compensate a lot better. And I'm also moving my hands and things like that. I don't know how good the tracking is, but you should be able to get an idea within 15 or 20 seconds what it looks like with with or without lighting and how well the autofocus works. So I'm interested to see what this looks like compared to the iPhone 6 that we just shot. And then we're going to switch to the T3i, and then we're going to go to the G7X next. And I'm really looking forward to that. I think you're going to really like the G7X. Now this is my favorite of the bunch, the Canon G7X. They do have a new model of this that I haven't tested yet. It's the G7X Mark II. I believe it's not available to most people right now because it's either on back order or sold out. But let's see how the G7X performs with no lights. I'm very interested to see in low lighting, without camera lighting, what the difference is between the iPhone 6, or actually really between the smaller point and shoot and the G7X. Now keep in mind, they still call the G7X a point and shoot, but it is a little bit heavy and a little bit larger, or a little bit heavier and a little bit larger. I can still put it in my shorts pocket. I'm wearing shorts specifically today to test how these fit in the pocket and whether or not you can really carry them. The G7X, when the lens is contracted, it does fit well in the pocket, but it's got a lot more weight to it than one of the ELPHs. So if you plan to do a lot of outside shooting or traveling, you're probably going to be better off with that. But it should be really cool to compare the footage back and forth. Just one more time, we're going to turn the lights off, or at least eliminate one of them, and see how that does. Now, we should have the dreaded shadow on this side because we're only illuminated from one. The reason that I run this setup and put the tripod in the middle is so that even on gloomy days, though we have a lot of ambient light in here, we don't get the shadows, and the clarity is just that much more clear. So this is the Canon Rebel T3i. It's a little bit outdated, and I don't think it has the autofocus selections like the new T5i that replaced it. So right now we're going to try a couple different things. I believe I'm out of focus at the moment, so let's change the manual focus just a little bit. See if that helps. It's hard to do this alone with this particular camera. If it does have depth of field right now, it should be focused on my face, and if not, we're kind of screwed. So just to see how it compensates for low light situations, even though this is probably a bad example on an outdated camera. I'm not an SLR guy, so I wanted to throw one in the mix. Turn the lights off and see what we've got. I would imagine that it also is not going to autofocus with any movement. I don't think the T3i had that software built in at the time, but see how she does with little lights. Woo! So after reviewing all the footage, we can definitely tell that the crowd favorite and my favorite, my top pick, is the G7X. You definitely get what you pay for. For $500 or $600, there's just no quality. I mean, there's no compromise in quality with the G7X. It looks better than everything else. It works out of the box. It's got autofocus. The image stabilization is great if you happen to be moving and it's not on a tripod. But as you can see in the comparison video, if you want to do daily vlogging, you can totally get by with an iPhone. Just make sure you pick up a set of Studio Pro lights if you're going to be filming indoors. The other thing is, if you only have a budget of $200 to $300, man, the Canon PowerShot series, you can really get some great footage. I like the wide angleness of that. It gives you, what is it? I think it's a 24mm lens, 21.5mm lens. So it's wide angle enough to where it's very comfortable to put your arm out and film yourself if you wanted to do selfie videos. The only thing is the G7X has a flip-up viewfinder, so you can actually see if you're in the frame. With this guy, you definitely won't be able to tell if you're in the frame because it doesn't have that capability. But unlike some of the other PowerShots like the Sony, or not PowerShots, but Sony's version, some of them with a less or more narrow zoomed in lens, you have to really put your arm out far or use a selfie stick to get the camera far enough away from you and get a good background shot or whatever you want to get behind you in the frame. But with this, it's very easy. You can be very comfortable and still get yourself in the frame like so. And you can also do that with the G7X, but huge difference in price point. For me personally, I don't see myself using an SLR anytime soon. I do see myself continuing to use the iPhones because every version that comes out is going to get better and better. Now here's the thing about using the iPhone. I get away with it, and it's easier because I'm a simple guy. I'm not a videographer at all. And I think that most people want to do daily vlogging or blogging or just be a YouTuber are not really video editors and stuff like that. I don't want to spend a lot of time editing. I want the file formats to be easy, transferable, and work on most devices. I can sit here and edit the videos on my phone. I don't have to get any complicated software. You can use the free Apple app that works awesome to edit the videos and just transfer them to your computer and simply upload, or upload directly through Wi-Fi to YouTube through the app. The other thing is that I want to touch on, even if they continue to make higher megapixel cameras, I will continue to use my phone to make videos, but the one thing that you can't replace, you're not going to get the quality of a point and shoot or something like the G7X with an iPhone in low light situations without camera lights, because the size of the lens just doesn't let enough ambient light in. It just isn't there to work with. So the only way that you're going to get consistent quality videos from the iPhone is to have a set of camera lights or be outside so that there's enough light for it to do its job correctly. That said, I think the perfect combination is to use your iPhone to start with. Just get a little mount, get a tripod, get some camera lights, and you're good to go. If your budget allows it, you can spend $200 to $300. Get an ELPH series PowerShot. You're going to love it. Your videos are going to look good, and it also has a great microphone. If you can afford it and spend $500 or $600, your videos are going to look amazing if you use the G7X. As far as the best quality is concerned, out of the bunch, the G7X for $500 or $600 and still have something that's portable instead of a clunky DSLR. I will probably never use one of these simply because the quality difference between the newer T5i and the G7X, to me, for what I do, is not a big enough difference. and the portability and the ease of use with the autofocus and the image isolation or stabilization, sorry, the IS of the G7X Mark II, which is the new model of this camera. It's even better. It's simply, that's good enough. I don't need to spend any more money. I don't need to make it any more complicated. And I think it's a perfect solution for somebody that wants the best quality and something that's easy to use and easy to transport. That said, I hope this comparison helps you pick out your beginner vlogging camera, and here's some more videos. So the one thing that we didn't do to really put the G7X to the test is we didn't use the touchscreen with the flip-up viewfinder. I didn't want to give an unfair edge. The G7X does have a touchscreen, so if we hone in on my face and then select it, see if the automatic tracking works pretty well, we should get a lot better result when we're sitting back here. And then the auto stabilization. Actually, the only other thing is most vloggers are going to be much, much closer. Let's see if we can just drag the tripod a little bit closer. Most vloggers are going to be shooting much, much, much closer than I did the original test in. And once you do that, use the touchpad to actually track your face and automatically focus. Once you move around, then I don't know if it'll do a true depth of field where it blurs out everything behind me or like outside the windows. It probably depends on where my face is and how long I stay there. The other thing to note is, because we weren't using a viewfinder with any of the other cameras, I notice a lot of times if you care about eye contact, which can be really important for close-up videos that you're doing, I notice that most people, and myself included, are looking at the viewfinder instead of actually at the lens, which is a huge difference. Depending on the videos that you make for daily vlogging, you want to be conscious of that, but I think the autofocus technology that's in the G7X is superior to pretty much anything else out there, other than like a T3i. But if you compare the size of the two, I mean, I'm never going to carry this thing around. Can you imagine that? Let me put this in my pocket and be like, hey guys, let's do some shots. The other thing to keep in mind is that I think the ELPH cameras are really good for doing selfie videos. If vloggers want to do selfie videos, it is not super wide to where it's almost like a fishbowl lens, but it's wide enough to where you don't have to put your hand like way out here to get yourself in the frame and then get everything else behind you. It's a good medium, or it's a good balance, kind of like in the middle. The other thing is you can hold it a comfortable distance away from you, and the lens angle is wide enough to where it'll get your face in there and you can pretty much do anything you want. The G7X, however, is going to be superior to all of them. So if you want the best quality, I would definitely go with the Canon G7X. I'm a huge fan, and it is my crowd favorite. If you want to know where to purchase some of this gear, I did an extensive blog post that even includes more models and alternatives for different price points on cleverleverage.com. If you go to the YouTube description below, there will be links to every single model of camera that I tested, and then also some alternatives at price points between $300 to $400 for people that don't want to spend $700 on the G7X. Hopefully, this will help you pick out your vlogging camera so you can get started making daily YouTube videos.